Okay, so we enter the second turn of my Schlieffen plan situation. And, well, at this point, yeah, marked there. We're just getting a few more pieces into play. They kind of trickle in here. So the Germans are going to get all their cav activated, and then they get one big unit, either 9.5 or 8.5 division, from four of their armies. And the French are going to get everything 27, 23. Everything kind of down here is going to jump into play. So we'll be able to move across. I don't know if we want to do that yet, because we're going to have the enforced attacks, which could pretty much clobber my army, and I'd rather just position for them than anything else, I think. I don't want to jump into combat yet. Somewhere or another, on a different page, we've got the restrictions on the units, and that may slow things down here. I don't think any of those take place until turn 3. And then the Belgians get the cav unit, but they already have this in play as of right now. I feel like I've got enough forces to barely make this attack. I've got 51 strength points. Granted, I'm facing 43 tripled. I could get it off, but there's an advantage if I can surround this unit, and I'm real close to doing that. So I want to hold off to do that instead of, trying to hope that I can force a retreat at high losses. I'm a very cautious player, and unfortunately I don't know the history well enough. I guess I could look it up to be certain what was done here, whether it was kind of invested over a large period of time, like I am thinking about doing, or if it was just overrun. And also there's the game aspects. A game may or may not adequately represent things. I trust this one to do so, but, well, my feeling looking at the game aspect is I'm going to be getting hit on a really ugly table and take a lot of losses. Now, granted, I take my city and I get motion going, but how much more units am I going to have open to me next turn? Turn 3, well, turn 3 everything's open, so I would kind of like to have this clear already by that point. Oh, damn. But things aren't going to be able to move too far, and whatever's here on this German, right at Liege, not Liege, what is this? Oh yeah, Liege. Right at Liege would be able to move forward and kind of open up that ground, whereas if it's stuck there fighting, I'm not sure how much it's able to move forward. But what I'm going to do instead is the same as I did last time. I'm going to attack this cav. I've got 16 points of infantry, which requires that I spend 2 supply, and I'll spend that off the first army. Huh. I may not be in range. 1, 2, 3, 4, barely. Okay. Otherwise, I'd take a penalty on those. So what did I say? 16, 17, 18, 19 strength points. I'm facing 2. These guys can't retreat before combat because there's cav involved. So I roll, and I roll on a much better table than I was before. There shouldn't be any modifiers here. We're still fighting across a... We're still fighting in clear terrain because the cav is being attacked across a clear terrain hex side, and it doesn't have anything else adjacent to it. 16, 19. I roll a quick die. Got to be careful there. And I'm going to do 2 hit points to this, which will wipe it out. And that means I'm going to be able to advance. Now, I probably don't want to advance everything, but I'll push forward like that. And, that left all these guys behind. Now I've got them cut off. I could hit with these because combat's not simultaneous, and be able to attack an unsupplied unit. I'd be facing the river line then. I should have kept a unit out of this attack. I'm not very thoughtful some of the times. If I went across the river line, it's just a normal river. It's a -2 and +2 to the die roll. The defender is essentially going to be multiplied by 3 halves. ×3 for defending, but he's not going to have supply. Well, except that big old fortress is always in supply. So the biggest part is going to be multiplied. I don't want to make the attack yet. So there's my casualty count, and I'll put that with the rest of the Belgian. Well, I don't know where to put it. I'm going to put it up here because it's available for replacement. It's not part of my reinforcements, which is most of what's in that tray. A game this long, I don't have all my reinforcements set up on the turn track for a long time. I may have to create a special tray just to keep losses in. Well, as is often the case, I missed a little something. All the German cav was active. I moved a couple of them up to here from back here. Just correcting, if you see this later, nothing special happened. I just had screwed up and not moved them all. I moved a few in here as well. These guys I don't know what to do with. They're so far back down here that I didn't really want to stream all my cav up. It could be kind of useful elsewhere. I don't know what it's going to do. This is going to bog down into something ugly. I probably ought to move this stuff up too. Okay, so activation for the second turn for the French only is their cav and some infantry near Belfort, and the Belgians, well, they lost that unit. In the Belfort area, I pushed the infantry up a little bit, sent one cav over here, just kind of as a screening type operation. I only have one in the area, and by doing this, I can do the retreat before combat and prevent the Germans from advancing as far. Even with column attack, you have to stop after attacking. Now, other units can march through in that case. Up here, I spread the cav out for the same kind of reason, to slow the German advance. I'm not sure it was necessary to have a piece here. But for the most part, they're sticking here. But on this front, I'm starting to channel the French cav up through Luxembourg. Again, they might provide some screening effects here in Luxembourg itself, but I want to get them up into the Belgian area. Again, they might serve some purpose up there, or to help cover the Ardennes. The French cav here pulled back. They could have stuck themselves right in here to provide supply to this fort. Well, they'd have to actually cover 2 of these hexes, this one and one of these 2. Had they done so, though, they would be very vulnerable to a column attack. There's German cav everywhere in that area, so I couldn't retreat before combat. And the effect would be the same, because you can make the column attack and a regular attack in the same turn. So it seemed best to preserve the cav and give some added strength to the Belgian line here. That's the best I could do. No attacks. And we're going to shift into the third turn of August. And we start to get reinforcements now. Okay, so it's turn 3 and things have really started to get moving. The Germans had all their 8.5 units activated at this point. I accidentally activated some engineers, and I've tried to back them up, but you know, it's not really worth looking them up. If they moved an extra hex or something, it's no big deal, I think. And the artillery, the siege artillery, etc., gets to move on the rails at this point. I've got one kicking around. I don't know if I caught it. Yeah, I think I did. Put some up next to here using the rail movement, which cost them 1 movement point to move up to 6 hexes, I guess. And then they spend an extra... Oh, they couldn't. No. Okay, so those big heavy siege guns have to get out of there. They couldn't make it there because they spent a movement point to get into the... oh no, they don't spend extra to move into zones of control because there's infantry there. Okay, yeah, lots and lots of little special rules that you have to kind of take into account. But I've got a major attack prepared here on Liège. I've also moved up here against, say, these combined Belgian-French forces here. I don't think I'm going to attack, but I'm within supply range, so I could. Likewise here, I don't think I'm going to launch the attack because, you know, everything's got to kind of catch up anyway. It's unlikely I'm going to take it. You can accuse me of having a case of the slows. It's probably quite true. Well, let's figure out what's going on for this attack. I've got to count up all the units and figure out how many supply points to pay. So pawing through all the stacks around here, I've got 110 supply points, and the heavier siege artillery count full strength because of the fortification there. For that, I have to pay some, 110 combat points. I have to pay some 14 supply points. I mark them off. I'll take 7 off each army. First and second. I kind of want to keep the second a little stronger because it's sitting over here on this flank. Now, for the Belgians, they can't pay any supply points. So their strength is going to be halved before it's tripled. So they're at 8 is 4, right? Then tripled is 12, but I also have this 36. So it's 40 tripled. So I have 120 strength points, and I'll need another calculator to keep all this in my head. And here I have 110. Okay, now I think we attack. I can't think of anything else to do that has to be done here. Well, because this is 2 rolls, I think we use the same die roll. I know I said that in the intro. Let's make sure I'm correct about that. Yeah, okay, so yeah, it's 1 die roll. Modifiers for terrain, I'm not going to get any here. Except I've got this urban center thing. Does that mean I can use urban? No, because there's no urban hex sides there. So I'm stuck with clear terrain. This is what we looked at before, which means no effects for that. I'm surrounded, which has effects. What does that mean? I think that doesn't affect my defensive strength. So, well, let's see if I hit him. We get a 6, which has got to be good. That's going to be 10, 20, plus another 2. So I'm going to do 22 hits on the Belgians. Now, 22 would normally require a retreat. I've got the fortress there, so I'm going to negate that retreat because that retreat would destroy my units. It's going to destroy them anyway and reduce the fortress quite heavily. But here's the thing. I get to swing back, and I've got 120 strength points for the Belgians. Let's throw some... yeah, they did real well. 1, nice. So they're going to do only 10, 12 hit points, as it were. Yeah, ignore my D&D type sounding. So I have to take 22. Now, because I didn't retreat, they have to come off the non-fortification units first. So that's 8 strength points, and these are gone forever because of the surrounded factor. Now there's 14 off here, which means I'm down to like a 22. How do I resolve a 22 here? I don't know. That's a 23, and I can use a -1 on that, I guess, and that'll give me a 22. Let's make sure. Yeah, this wouldn't have helped. We'll put that there. Now I've got to take 12 off the Germans, and I don't know quite how to allocate these. So I'll figure it out and then come back. So the way it turned out, both 5-point units and the 8-point units have 2 losses on their flipped over side. I can't take further losses on a unit after it's been flipped until I flipped all the units. So I flipped 6 units to take care of those casualties. Now I've got to think, do I want to keep pressing on with the attacks? I've got more set up that I could make. What would this be? I'd have 10, 19, that's pretty big, but I'd be facing 21, and if you look the terrain, the hex side here, one of those hex sides is broken terrain, which would mean a -1 to the die roll. A reason you might not want to attack from so many directions, of course if I attacked from here it would still be in play, but the defender can defend on the land that you attack near. So I don't know, I think I can get more forces up there, and I don't think, even if I'm successful in attacking this, that it's terribly useful. One thing that happened, some of the French had cav spread out around here, actually up here, that the Germans struck, and, well, using column attacks, and the French withdrew before combat. Now that puts me in this interesting situation here. This might be pretty weak. I've got 16 to only 4. Of course, they have a fortress. That would be 16 to 12. That seems not unreasonable. So I'll spend for that. I have to spend 2 supply. That's off the 4th Army. If I can find that. Under here, drops them down there. Okay, what did I say? 16 to 12, but I've got a terrain issue here, don't I? There's forest there that I can use. That's going to give a -2 to the attacker die roll. Ooh, that's nasty. I forgot it not only gives the -2 but the +2. Yeah, I'm not going to make that attack. That's just too ugly. Once I get more troops up, I can do it. But with a fortress there and everything, you know, I'm not going to cause a retreat. I'm not going to gain the territory necessarily. Let's take a look at what it would look like. I'd have 16 strength points here. But with a -2, chances are I'm not going to do more than 1 or 2 hits. Yes, it'll wipe out the unit and it'll hurt the fort, but it's not going to get me through. And on their side, what would they have? They'd have 12 at a +2. They're probably going to do the same damage as I am. I just don't see a real advantage. Of course, there's always the time versus, versus casualties trade-off. I don't like not making it, but do I really want my Germans to advance to here even? And I can probably wipe it out all at once unless a huge defensive line forms along this river. I'm not sure, because we're going to see what is it? The French open up. All their infantry opens up, etc., and they've got to make attack. That's the thing. They've got to make attacks, so they may well be swinging up into that area. I might as well take it as a defensive hit instead of an offensive. I'm going to load this one up because the French turn is going to be quite extensive, I believe, the French side of the turn. So I'm just going to... Now I could do a recombination on... I think some of those units in casualty. They may not be able to. They're in a zone of control. That's probably not allowed. If I had 1, they would be able to. Let's see about recomb. I need a headquarters for that to happen. And I can't move or participate in combat. Yeah, there are a lot of rules against me doing that. Great. Okay, so we'll move here, and the French are going to get some additional troops. And I'll load this one up.